Hello, in this video, I'm going to explain to you the first part of the Apple Pie project in the Apple's iBook on app development with Swift. So first, start off a new project and create a single view app. Check the box on Create Git Repository on my Mac and create. So the first setting is to go to the project and change the devices from universal to iPad. Okay, then go to your main storyboard. Change the view from an iPhone to an iPad and change the orientation to landscape. Okay, let's zoom out a little, and for the rest of the project we will be using this orientation of the iPad. So first of all, let us add a vertical stack view into the view controller. And we can set up the constraint such that there's 0 points at all the 4 edges. Next, let us add an image view to the vertical stack view. Click on the attributes inspector and change the content mode to aspect fit. Okay, next we want to add the tree image into the image view. So for us to do that, first we will have to add the tree images into the assets folder. Alright. So once the three images are added, if you click on the attribute inspector again, you will be able to see the three images that you can select. So let us select 3, 0. Next, we want to add the vertical stack view to hold the buttons. The vertical stack view to the bottom of the image view. So for now, you can see the vertical stack view. So what we need to do is to give a height to this vertical stack view. So let's give it a height of 220. Okay. Next, we want to add a horizontal stack view. So drag it in. Okay. So go to the attribute inspector and change the distribution to fill equally. Do the same thing for the vertical stack view that you have added earlier. Alright, now you may add the individual buttons, the alphabetical buttons, to the horizontal stack view. So the structure of these buttons is that there will be five rows of buttons. Each row will hold 5 letters. Click, copy, and paste. So we want to have 5 buttons. Right, so that's how it goes. and we want to repeat this horizontal stack view for 5 times, so that we have 25 buttons altogether. And the last row at the bottom, we want to have an additional letter because there are 26 alphabetical letters. So here I'll just add one more, bring it to the lowest. Okay, so now we have 6 buttons. Okay. Next, we want to add 2 labels to hold the score and the letter of the game. So we will search for label and drag it to the bottom, and we do that for a second time. You may copy and paste. Centralize the 2 labels. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's sort out the constraint problems. Okay, so that's it. So we want to do a bit of formatting for the labels. So the first label on top, we want to change the font size to 30. And we want to change the constraint. We want to change the height to 60. And for the second label, I want to change the font size to 20. And I'll add a constraint for the height, 44. Okay, so that's the structure of the UI. Next, we are going to change the name of the buttons. Alright, so now we have a working UI. Okay, so now I want to set up my Git repository on this particular folder. So fire up your terminal. Okay. Go to the directory of your folder. So type a cd and drag the folder there and press enter. So to check that you are indeed in your folder, type pwd. You must make sure that you are in your projects folder before you run the following commands. Git add dot, okay, git commit -m Before I set up my remote repository, I need to ensure that I have the required repository existing on my remote host. Create a new repository. Okay, depending on your mode of pushing, you might have to copy either this URL, or in my case, I will be copying this because I'm using SSH. So go back to your terminal, type git remote add origin and paste what you have copied earlier. Enter. Okay, so the last part is to push your repository onto your remote host. Okay, that's it. Refresh and you see that your files is now residing on your remote host. Okay, now we want to connect some of the easier objects from the interface to the view controller. So let's open up the assistant editor. Okay, first, control drag from the tree image to the view controller and release. Okay. Ensure that the connection is of the outlet type, and for the name you can call it tree image view. Next, we will do the same for the two labels. Make sure it is of the outlet type and call it correct word label. Score label. So now you have 3 IB outlets. Next, we are going to connect the letter buttons onto the view controller. So do the same, press Ctrl and drag to the view controller. However, this time please ensure that what you have selected the outlet collection, and ensure that your type is of UI button, and we call these the letter buttons. Next, we are going to link up these particular IB outlets to all the letter buttons. So to do that, just move your mouse to the circle and drag it to all the individual buttons. Okay, so to check that you have not missed out any buttons, you can click on the view controller and then you click on the link inspector. So here you can see all the connections that you have created so far, and you have all the letters A to Z that are connected to the letter buttons array. So far so good. Let's run. So you see that you have an almost working UI. Let's finish up the last part of this section 1. What I want is that when I click on one button, the button will be deactivated. So in order for us to do that, I will have to add an IB action to the letters. So to do that, let's control drag again to the view controller. Now check that you have selected action and call it button tab. Select UI button for the type and click connect. Since we want this IB action to be applicable to all the letter buttons, we will do the same as what we have done for the IB outlet for letter buttons. So we will click and drag it to all the buttons. Alright, and as what I have said earlier, I want the button to be deactivated upon clicking. So I will type this particular command is enabled. That's all. So let's run again. So you can see once you click on a button, it will be deactivated. Alright, so this is the first part of the apple pie. Check out the second part of the video on how to create the code to run the game. Thank you.